And you're back here, coming live from Cologne, Germany, where we're enjoying the RaidCall EMS1 finals. And I, as often, have the pleasure once again of being joined by Paul. Paul, Red Eye Shallow. Paul, how are you doing today?
I feel like I need to sort of touch your hair, but I'm not going to. I'm all right.
Paul, you can touch me at any time. I don't want to start the bromance too early today. I want to save some for tomorrow, but we might as well start now. I mean, I think you're a wonderful person too. Paul, with my limited knowledge, I know that the first game was, you know, basically all we could ask for of a quarterfinal going into this. How did that make you feel seeing that?
Well, it was kind of weird because we don't usually have Fnatic as the underdogs in a match, but they were effectively. I think pretty much all the pros and all of the predictions out there were that they were going to struggle against LDLC, who've just been in magic form over the last month or so. And what we ended up with was a very close match between two very highly skilled teams. Couldn't have asked for a better opening.
And obviously going in, we talked a little bit about Kenny S and, you know, was he going to be a deciding player? And of course people want to hype that up, but do you think that in any way played a role?
No, I think Kenny S played, he had a solid game. I don't think he was perhaps as sensational as he can be, but he did. I didn't see anything that he did wrong. Threat and I spoke about it afterwards. We didn't see anything that he did wrong, but he's just one guy, and Counter-Strike is a team game. It's not just about the fragging, and his team weren't quite good enough today.
Now, another thing going in, of course, was that Fnatic, you know, had this, you know, nobody wishes that on anybody, but losing the equipment, you know, it can definitely throw you off your game. We spoke to Modi briefly afterwards for the commercial break, and, you know, he said that wasn't really a phase in them. They just said, hey, let's get on with the job. Do you think that also played a role?
I think, they would never want to make mistakes. So Fnatic's team, full of professionals, and they wouldn't want to say, yes, it didn't help us. But I know, having spoken to these guys, how a small difference can affect some players, and some players are easier to cope with change than others. Losing your equipment is a big thing, and not that kind of equipment. Take your brain out of the gutter. I knew exactly where he was going with it. No, I mean, you know, the mouse. We actually gave Carrigan exactly the same mouse that he uses normally, but it felt different, and that's what I'm talking about. It can be the same model, the same make, and the same shape, but for some reason it can feel different. And to these guys, those differences are magnified massively, and it makes a massive difference from them. To the likes of you and I, who are ordinary Counter-Strike players, we don't care, and we can sit down and play, and it doesn't really seem to make any difference. But, you know, we're talking about the top, 99% of the highest skilled players in the world, and that last 1% comes from things being absolutely right. And I think they did really well to cope without their stuff.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. And I think going in as that being our first, let's say, quarterfinal of the day, I mean, that's as good as it's going to get. Yep. But I don't think it is as good as it gets, because we've now got Copenhagen Wolves versus VeryGames. Do you have a favorite going into this one? I mean, there was talk leading up, you know, the Copenhagen Wolves having two new players that are essentially taking them to the end of the season just to fill in. Is that a good assessment, or?
I think it's both teams are very interesting. I mean, if we start with Copenhagen Wolves, they've been playing exceptionally well over the last few months, and now, unfortunately for them, have lost two key players. I mean, once you could argue had a poor DreamHack by his own standards, but he's still a great player. And then losing Cajun is a huge thing for them. And they've replaced them with two guys who previously played together and are good friends in FM Toxic, so it's a nice kind of synergy for them. They're not buying in two new players who have to get used to each other and the team. They've got two players who can play as a unit on the map. So that will help, but as good as Socken is, I'm not sure that bringing two players in at short notice and replacing two staid players who've been playing really well is necessarily helpful. We've seen it before with Absolute Legends last season actually pay off. So I'm not going to write them off, but I don't think they start perhaps as the favourites against VeryGames. VeryGames, on the other hand, they've been very quiet recently because they didn't go to DreamHack. They kept some sneaky tactics under their own hat. They have been playing some prackies, and they've been playing very well in those. Practice though, you can never really tell if that translates to a LAN, but I think they'll be very focused on this and very up for it.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the bracket now as we go into what's setting up today, and we can see a nice visual of how things are going. And we see obviously Fnatic progressing through to the semis there. Now, looking at VeryGames, I know that they have just taken Shocks, who joined from Imaginary, who we saw in the spring finals here with the RaidCall EMS1. Do you think that that's going to play a role at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had enough time now to bed into the team, so it's not really going to make any difference. From where we've seen them a month ago, for instance. They've been playing with him for quite a while now. I think, you know, the same with Kenny S. I mean, he fits in LDLC perfectly because they've been playing enough now to know how they all play and how they fit into the team. Same with Shoxy. And it's not like they didn't know him before. They've played with the guy plenty of times before. So that won't be an issue for them, I don't think. I think it's more about Copenhagen Wolves with the two new guys fitting in, how little time they've had to prepare for this, and how quickly they adjust to things when they're going wrong.
Excellent. Let's have a quick deep dive look at the Copenhagen Wolves with this video. We'll be right back.
Our preparations to these finals has been minimal. We've played 3 or 4 days as a team since we just recently changed 2 players.
I'm ready to do everything I can to win this.
Have the will to practice that much more than everyone else. As this round to Copenhagen Wolves is going to be a whitewash.
Of course, there's some strong rivalry between the Danish teams. I mean, Western Wolves are all former CSS players, just like the 5 of us. So we did a lot of rivaling in CSS. With the Fnatic team, there's not as much rivalry, but we still want to beat them simply because they're Danish.
I think it brings a form of stability, since like I'm not known for leaving teams all over, so a form of stability and raw skill.
3 seconds to go, the bomb is being planted and he gets it down with 1.5 seconds to go. I'm going to guess with that one. Picks up and gets the kill on Carrigan. Wow. And Copenhagen Wolves win the last round. We're going to overtime.
Well, always nice to hear the dulcet tones of Mr. Joe Miller there. And of course, talking about Copenhagen Wolves and kind of looking at what the guys are going to be up against. Let's have a look at the team sheet here, Paul, and perhaps you can talk myself and the good people at home through what we've got lined up.
Yeah, Glaive, Pimp, MSL, Nico, Nilla, the original lineup from Copenhagen Games, not the one that we have now.
That's the wrong lineup, but I'm sure we'll get that fixed. We'll get that fixed right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, looking at, as I said, there's a Device who I know obviously is one of the let's say the standout players. What sort of role do you see him having today in this this matchup?
Well, I think it's between him and Dupree really, and then make sure that they have got all of what they need. I mean, play to the top of their game, have the right strats, be able to call it right when it goes wrong. I mean, the biggest thing for me is when, and you kind of saw it with LDLC, and you heard it on the team radio some rounds as well. If they were down and they were struggling, whether they start arguing, whether they start shouting at each other. And some teams, they don't respond very well to that. And having 2 new guys in the team and the 5 and the blend of it, sometimes it's difficult with the team communication. But I think, yeah, I mean, probably, Fetish is a very experienced player, and he knows how to get the best out of the new players in the team as well. So I'm not convinced that they're going to struggle. But I think if you'd asked me about these 2 teams a month ago, I think Copenhagen Wolves would have been the clear favourites. As it is now, I think it's probably marginally in favour of VeryGames.
Well, let's have a look at VeryGames and go into a nice video showing the guys up close and personal. Take it away.
What makes Team VeryGames special compared to the other teams is that I guess we're just not shy about talking about the mistakes we made or the good things we do together. We're just improving every single time. We're gonna face Copenhagen Wolves in the quarterfinals for the EMS RaidCall 1. We've been playing against them a few days ago on an official game. We know our game style. We are gonna adapt to them because I know they just changed 2 players and they're gonna be pretty much the mix of this round.
B-side from the balcony. There's another shot from Smith. Can he get more? Yes, he can. That's 3 this round as he finishes off.
When we are blocked in a side or in the game because our tactics don't work or anything, I'm trying to just add something new and to propose another solution.
We're gonna do our best to develop a good game, and apart from that, we're just gonna bring our game to the best and not gonna let them any chance.
Kucha inside the bomb site. MBK picks up the kill. Scream gets the second and MBK with the third.
I think we have good chances for this game.
Well, we got to enjoy you, Paul, there getting a little bit excited about an MBK kill at the end. Do you think we'll be seeing the same kind of stuff today? MBK taking charge?
I think you'll see him, taking heads. I think Shoxy will be doing the same. Existence will be doing the same. They've got class players throughout the team. They're all high quality. I think Existence has probably had probably the weakest period of his career that I've seen him in the last probably 6 to 12 weeks. But he seems to be bouncing back recently, and that's a really good sign for VeryGames. They're never a more dangerous team than when Existence is on fire.
Well, let's have a look at that team sheet and see how they play into each other and see what are going to be some of the matchups. As you said, you know, we talked about NBK there. Obviously, I remember these guys from back at the spring finals. What do you see moving there? I mean, for Shocks, for example.
Well, I think Shocks is Shocks. I mean, he's, you know, a lot of people say, how does he fit into the team? But I don't think he has any issues fitting into the team. He's a high-skilled player. He's got phenomenal brain in terms of Counter-Strike. And I think every one of the team. I mean, Smith's, you know, he's had the phenomenal 5-man Scream, just seems to get like 90% headshots in every game. MBK can have monster round, and Existence is not, you know, he's capable, just as capable as the rest of his team as well. So they have superstars in the team. I think in the past they've probably been a little bit too rigid, and that may have kept Kenny S back, if you like, and stopped seeing the best of him, and now he's with LDLC, maybe it's a bit more open. But I think having seen a couple of these guys practice recently, I think they're playing a bit more with fluidity, so I think we might see a more dynamic VeryGames today.
Now, before I start twisting your arm and making you do predictions, which I apologize, I will do that, but do you think the DreamHack sit-out moment will have an effect? Will we see that come into play? What's your thoughts on that?
Could do. I mean, you know, it's hard to tell when teams don't go to every event. I mean, some teams, you know, they will sit out an event for a tactical reason. Could have been a holiday. Could have been we want to learn new strategies. Could be that we just want to break from the game. I mean, you know, there's a lot of tournaments these days, which is great for the game, great for the teams and players, but sometimes it gets a bit too much, and you just need to step back. And you know, I know that even when I play casually and you take a week off and then you go back, suddenly everything seems much easier. So I don't know. We'll see. Break is as good as a rest, right?
A break is as good as a rest, and obviously we've now got, you know, a team that's firing on all cylinders on both sides going into this this next of our quarterfinals today. Do you predict as much of a heated matchup as the first one, or?
I think it very much depends on the opening map and how the two teams face off in the first half of the first map. I think if Copenhagen Wolves get underway well and they do okay in the first half, I think we'll probably see a really close game. Could go 2-1 either way. I think, unfortunately for them, if they don't get the early momentum and VeryGames really start putting the pressure on early, then I think it could be curtains for Copenhagen Wolves, because I think VeryGames will just steamroller them through. They're a team full of confidence, and when they get momentum, it's really tough to break it away from them.
It sounds like it's going to be a pretty epic game, so sit around, don't go anywhere. But of course, before we come back, we're going to pass you over to somebody who's going to tell you how to get involved, tell you more about what's going on. And of course, that is the always lovely Melly. Melly, over to you. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Sean. And as you see, I'm not alone here. With me is Kerrigan, and he's already busy answering the questions you have in our RaidCall channel. It's 1997 if you like to join, have a chat with Kerrigan right now. And we already have a couple answers. But at first, let's talk about that results of our community votes on our RaidCall page. It seems like the community doesn't have slightly trust issues or faith issues in your team. Could you explain why?
I mean, before DreamHack we played very well. In tournament we beat NIP and beat Nexus, and we had a very hard group with Team X also. But only 4 days after we start to lose at DreamHack in the group stage, we lost 2 times against Lemon Dogs, and I completely understand that the trust issues, because we haven't played really well, and the first time on LAN was DreamHack and we make some mistakes. And we tried to fix them, and we had some good run in Star Ladder. We won number 2, won all 5 to last 5 matches. So we came into this tournament with trust in ourselves that we could do it and that we could advance in EMS.
And there was a question: how hard is it to play now with your own stuff?
I mean, me and Trace is playing without our real stuff. The mousepad we have at home and stuff like this. Trace though got his normal mouse. I played with a new sensor I never played before, Frost. So, I mean, I just had to play, and we had to not to think about the bad things, but stay positive and just focus on the game, because we can't really do anything about it. We tried everything we could. ESL tried to help us. And we had some good LoL manager here in Germany who came with some of the last Steel Series gear for us. So we can't really do any more here, and we just need to focus on the game.
Exactly. Then good luck at first. And come on the RaidCall channel and have a chat with Carrigan. He will stay with me for a couple more minutes. And we also have the Facebook competition where I already have some submissions where you can win, for example, a signed mousepad and different great prizes. Sorry. And, well, let's throw it to the casters. I think they're ready and waiting for us. Much fun with the next matchup and vote.
Thank you so much, Melly. So, as she said, we are here. It is myself, Pansy, and I'm joined by the ever-lovely Threat. Now, we do have two, well, I'd say very different teams, but they're in a very similar position right now. Obviously, the Copenhagen Wolves and VeryGames both have a kind of question mark about their recent performances. One team has 2 new players. Big question mark. The other, Skip DreamHack. So both teams are kind of, where are they at right now? In your mind, who do you think is going to come out the better here? Because obviously, both teams, you could kind of guess it either way. But where's your money on at this moment?
I would say VeryGames, but the funny thing is this match is like so similar to the last game.
Exactly.
We have one Danish team. We have the Danish team is the underdogs, and we have the French team who is like expected to win. And last time Fnatic had some problem with their gear. This time Copenhagen Wolves have some trouble with their players. So
it's interesting. It's who can pretty much turn up best on the day. And obviously these guys, you can see they're trying to get ready, trying to get themselves used to this, get set up, get comfortable. Because obviously they've got 2 new players as well. You're looking at the Copenhagen Wolves right there, and obviously they've got their standardized players, but they do have obviously Soren and SMF. Now, how do you think they're going to fit into this? Because I've seen Soren play before, and I think he's a fantastic player. I watched him. I think it was at the Birmingham Mad Cats event a long, long time ago now. He was playing with the FM guys. How do you think he's going to fit into this lineup?
Well, I've only heard good things about him, so I think it will work out great. The thing I don't know is how much he has played with the other players in the team.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important.
Yeah, there's going to be a big question mark around that because obviously, when you first start out in CS, that team chemistry may not be all that important, but as soon as you get to this level, you cannot take on the likes of VeryGames without being 100%. These guys will be good. From what I've been hearing from, Red Eye and a couple of other people, these guys have been practicing hard. They skip DreamHack just to practice. That's giving up, probably a top 3 finish for these guys.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, VeryGames is, together with Western Wolves, the best tactical teams in CSGO right now.
Yeah, so they're going to be a dangerous side.
Yeah.
If they've really locked down the strats, if they've worked out any of the kinks that kind of stopped them going all the way before, because they've always kind of found a bit of a harder point with NIP, for example, but right now they can at least prove themselves starting out to a good start. They haven't had a bad journey to this point, to be fair. They've done fairly well throughout the season, and they've come through looking good. But, as did Copenhagen Wolves before the change. So it's pretty much going to be one of those games of, it's a fresh kind of set of teams for both of us almost. They're still the same VeryGames, but it could be a very different composition towards the way they play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kenny S was a mad fragger, and Shoxy was also a mad fragger. So it's as you say, it's very, very, very hard to predict this game. But I think VeryGames going in with like 70 to 30% difference.
Wow, you are backing them, aren't you?
Yeah. I really think they'll win this game.
Okay, so we've got one confident vote there from my co-caster. I feel the need I have to back Soren. I love this guy. He's so funny to be around. You saw the interviews there. His raw skill is what he's saying is going to carry him through. So maybe it will be. But they're just getting themselves sorted out. Obviously, as we said, some of the players didn't have their regular, setup, so they want to be comfortable for this because it's so important in CS especially to be feeling comfortable at an event, right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, at this event, they have like the best chairs, the gaming chairs I have ever.
So comfortable, aren't
they?
It's
insane.
Unreal.
And like everything from the players having their own hard drives, so they can easily set up before the game.
Yep.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I did see the VeryGames guys actually just watching the game, warming up a bit. So these guys will be ready. It's an early start compared to some lands, but these guys, they don't mess around. They've been there, they've done it. They've got, well, he's got the hat, but I was gonna say they have the T-shirt. So obviously we will be starting on Dust 2 here. You guys might not know, they did decide this before, and that was VeryGames' choice. Why do you think they're going for that? For such a team, for a team who's so strategic, as you said, why would they go for a map that maybe a mix-ish team could also do well on? With Soren obviously in the mix there. Any team can play Dust 2 to a decent extent, I'd say. Why did VeryGames pick that map, do you think?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I mean, many people have that view on Dust 2, that it is like the most mix-friendly map. But I think when you get to the really, really top level, it becomes really, really tactical. because there's so many, like, take the big pit on long, for example.
Of course.
Like, that is such an important area to control, and how the CT, if they play aggressive long, if they play aggressive catwalk, it's actually more strategic than some people might think.
Well, we're going to have to see if VeryGames actually have been working that strat book and have got something, you know, to pull out here. Because I don't think anyone can doubt the Copenhagen Wolves. You know, these two haven't particularly met. That's the weird thing as well. Looking through their previous matchups, they've generally missed each other, which is quite a rarity in CS. Because by this point, you know, with as many tournaments as there has been, they normally meet along the way somewhere. So, you know, I'd be surprised if, you know, they probably know who each other plays, you know, that general style. But I'd be surprised to see any sort of anti-strats coming out or anything like that, because, you know, these teams are fairly new to each other still.
Yeah, and I mean, they have known a long time which team they're going to play this tournament, so they probably avoided them in practice as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I always tend to forget that, obviously, before the events, they don't want to give things away. You know, there's been a lot of talk about the teams, you know, not wanting to show the, you know, the strats, and a lot of teams holding back during other events. So obviously, that's another way to do it, just flat out avoid them. But there's certainly no avoiding it now. These guys are almost ready. They are on the right sides. They're just going to make sure everything is working fine. They look very, very confident and very serious, actually, looking at the Copenhagen Wolves. For the team that, you know, have 2 new additions, they don't look particularly nervous, to be fair. I'd be a little bit worried by this point. You know, the first people you're facing off is VeryGames of all teams. It's not an easy start for them.
Yeah, for sure. But that's kind of what works, as we saw for Fnatic. If you have no pressure on you, it's like you're not expected, but like most people think you're going to lose. It's much easier to play. So maybe that can work in their favor, actually.
Okay, so while they're getting set up, obviously they do have a little bit of new, you know, equipment to work out. We are just going to go back over to Sean, who's going to give you a little more insight with a player just alongside him.
Well, one of the fun things we like to do here when we're at the summer finals of this EMS 1, sponsored by RaidCall, so make sure you get over to channel 1997, year of ESL's launch, and you can get stuck in. But what we're also doing is letting everybody do what you always do, and that's decide which team. Copenhagen Wolves, VeryGames, choice is yours. Guys here in the audience, your choice?
I think VeryGames made it.
VeryGames is going to be his bet. You can bet at home as well. And for you?
VeryGames.
Ooh, that's 2 for 2 for VeryGames. I'm going to choose the Copenhagen Wolves, even though I feel like that Danish final would be kind of cool in the next round. So let's see. But before we do that, back over to you guys. Thanks for watching.
Well, clearly the crowd favourite there is VeryGames. And I'm quite surprised that, to be honest, you know, a lot of the people tend to be against the French teams for some reason. You know, there's always been a little bit of animosity towards that, but, you know, they're clearly backing VeryGames. So, you know, the predictions so far have been coming out right. I was looking at, you know, obviously HOTV had, you know, VeryGames winning this one, and I'm hoping they don't take the Copenhagen Wolves too lightly here, because they're certainly not a team you can underestimate at all.
No, I completely agree, and my prediction last game was wrong, so...
What do you know, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But, you know, it's going to be a curious choice. Obviously, who's going to be your standout player for either side here? Because we do have new additions on one team at least. You know, do you think it's any of them that are going to really step up here and obviously enjoy that little bit of a freedom of not so much pressure on them? Who's going to be the main performer for you out of these two?
You mean the new players in Copenhagen Wolves? It's very, very, very hard for me to tell. I mean... The last I saw of SMF was back in the Birmingham market, so I would say SMF, but that was such a long time ago, so I don't know.
Things can indeed change, and I think they're starting to, they're readying up there actually, so hopefully the issues have been resolved and we can get underway nice and quickly, because obviously these guys don't want to be sat there, you know, right at the edge of starting, because obviously you know yourself as a player, sometimes you just want to get things underway. You know, the longer you take, the more you lose that focus, the longer the day gets, and it can really start working against you as a player. You just want to get underway, and if you know, if obviously something's not working, you know, maybe a mouse isn't working or a keyboard's not working, that's another issue on your mind, obviously, and that's not what they need going through. I think it's actually Soren there looking at the screen. He's not looking too cheerful. He's not such a happy fellow as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and people tend to underestimate how important like just waiting can be sometimes. That's why we see people doing those when they have Glock ecos. They just wait, because the other team is on a roll. They've maybe won 3 rounds in a row. They just want to keep going, and then they get like a 2-minute break where nothing happens. It's it kind of cools the team down, so to say.
Indeed, and I'm curious to see if it's actually going to help. Maybe the Copenhagen Wolves, you know, maybe VeryGames are raring to go, and now they've been kind of slowed down a touch just by the technical issues. It could play into this, you never know. So we do see Fetish, Dupree, SMF, and Device looking okay. So I do assume it is Soren who's currently having a little bit of trouble there, but hopefully that will be resolved nice and quickly. Now, obviously, you said that VeryGames are quite a strategical team, and you did already point out, you know, obviously the pit strats that can come out and the way they play it may be fairly unique. What other things do you think we can expect from these guys, especially, you know, on the CT or the T side, that would stand out to you to look very, you know, VeryGames-like? You know, what sort of strats do you think they're going to pull today?
Well, the typical VeryGames T strat is just a quick A split. I mean, they're very famous for it. They have very well executed long overtakes where they just rush out, throw great grenades, and it's that kind of strat. If you execute it perfectly, you should definitely win that round. But I mean, there's nothing like a perfectly executed round. So if they manage to execute it good enough, I think they can run away with a 10-5, 11-4 T.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is confident. I was expecting a little bit closer, but, you know, obviously I haven't been able to see these guys too many times on this map, actually. Out of all the maps, you know, they've played it a fair few times. They've actually played it in a recorded amount 31 times. Now, they've won it 17, they've lost it 13. But, you know, they're a team that, you know, they're very hit or miss sometimes. VeryGames go through, you know, a tough time and they just don't seem to, you know, turn up. That's the only issue with them every now and then, that they'll face NIP, for example, and it just falls apart. You know, they're a team that may face that. And what do you think that is? You know, they've always seemed to be the bridesmaid, never the bride. You know what I mean? They always seem to kind of fall at the last hurdle. What's really causing that?
I don't know. Some people might say it's just psychology, like they can't handle the pressure of finals.
Yep.
But I don't know really. I mean, they have like the best tactics, but I still feel like they don't have the same team play as NIP have, and there's quite a different thing, team play and tactics actually. I mean, they can take over the bomb site, but maybe they can't like finish the round. Like, yeah.
Indeed, but I think we're about to get ready to go into that knife round here. Thank God for that. Obviously, Soren's PC and any issues he had, probably that little mouse trouble, may be sorted out. And knife rounds, I'm awful at commentating on knife rounds, so I might just have a little listen to the raid call here, see if we can get a little sound from that. So let's see if we can hear exactly what's going on for the Copenhagen Wolves.
Nej! Jeg ramte ikke nogen.
Well, they seem to be in good spirits, considering that you said that, you know, they don't have pressure on them, and it kind of showed. Obviously, it didn't go necessarily to the best of their side, but nevertheless, you know, they seemed quite cheerful, quite happy, and that sort of attitude is probably going to play into this. So obviously, you know, this map is still fairly even side, where, you know, CT and T side, it's not massively biased, it's not a nuke, it's not something like that. You've already said, obviously, what you think that VeryGames could do on that T side. What do you think about Copenhagen Wolves here?
Well, since they are kind of a mixed team, I feel like they have to play pretty slow and just try to out-aim their opponents, because obviously they haven't had the same time as VeryGames to prepare well-executed strats, good A splits, so I just feel they have to aim good and play, don't play stupid in after-plan situations, like don't play too aggressive.
Yeah, and hopefully they can bear that in mind. The good spirits are there, but sometimes you do need to lock it down and focus, because we are about to go straight into this one. We'll be seeing that first pistol round. The Copenhagen Wolves will be starting on that T side, with VeryGames populating that CT area. So, let's get ready to go. Indeed. So, let's see exactly what the T side do have in mind. This is a general split. We do see Fetish, you know, peering off towards that B side, but not overly committing towards it. Nothing too strange happening just as of yet. And is this what you'd have expected to see so far?
This is a classical, as we see on the stream, the classical mid tower here, so we can see the defending both catwalk and mid at the same time. Quite dangerous though, because if the terrorist has bought the smoke, that position is quite useless.
Yeah, but Dupree has somehow managed to take down Smith. They're quickly evened back by MBK from short, but the T-side are pushing the way up short now. MBK's got another onto SMF, and this is looking very much like a VeryGames round. Ooh, until Device found the reply, so they glock back and forth, leaving it a 3v3. MBK has to vacate short and try from a different way right now, as we do see VeryGames adjusting accordingly. Not assuming that the Copenhagen Wolves will go fully up short, but here they come, Shopsy He's just sat in there, dug in deep. The fire is raining in. He's knocked down to only 15 HP. MBK on 30. They're damaged right now, and Soren is making the most of it. MBK is finally stopping them in the tracks from long. But Fetish still a little bit worried from behind. MBK has to do work, and he's doing it right now. Now only Fetish stands, and this is not looking too good for the Copenhagen Wolves just as of yet. 1v2, not going to happen. Big round then from MBK, 5-man there. Absolutely dominant. Every single position he had, he locked it down. How the hell did he read that so easily and just completely control it so easily?
I don't know. I mean, that round should have gone Copenhagen Wolves' way.
Sure.
They did the complete right decision, just kept calm, going all 3 guys together on the catwalk area, but just getting completely out-aimed by one guy. So they have to step up their aim.
Yeah, but MBK once again given the chance to get a good couple of frags. Already tagging on one. It's actually Existence to get the first onto device there. The damage was being dealt, but the T side are flooding now towards the A bomb side. Shoxy getting 1, getting 2 there, making very light work of the rather damaged Copenhagen Wolves. Screamy, aka Scream, finding almost the last, and Smiths will finish it out. So very standard start there. VeryGames probably shouldn't have gone that pistol round if by all accounts, but they did. So followed suit with the second. So I don't think we're seeing much, variation from Copenhagen Wolves. They're not going on an early buy. They don't really have the chance to. Can they turn anything around here, or is this just going to be another eco bash pretty much?
I think it's going to be another eco bash, and I mean, people underestimate how important it is to get at least 1 or 2 frags on these ecos, because if we look at the money after this round, we can see that VeryGames is going to have money. They can lose like 2 rounds in a row and still have being able to buy. And the key to winning a big loss of rounds as terrorists on this maps is keeping the city's economy down at all costs. So yeah.
Well, you say it, and I see Scream dropping weapons left, right, and centre. And clearly, the T side have not quite been able to manage to keep down that, or keep away that money from the CT players so far. Pretty much only getting 3 kills onto them at the moment in those first 3 rounds. So let's have a little look here, see exactly what that T side is doing. This looks very reminiscent of the first round we saw that sadly did fall into the hands of MBK. But now a bit of an AWP shot towards B. No real connection, though. It is Smiths there. Just keeping eyes on. The rest of the T team just populating through mid as well. So Scream's vision slightly hindered by that smoke there. He knows there's a couple of players, but can't do a great deal about it. So T-side just biding their time. They haven't made a massive push yet, but they are looking like they're just testing the water, trying to get that opening pick, and nothing's happening too easily at the moment.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the way they should be playing as a mix. Just keeping calm, play together, like first spread out of the map, see that the CT is not doing some stupid aggressive moves, and then just walk together out middle or out catwalk, and that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and somehow Dupree did burst through those double doors amid, taking down Shoxy. So again, the early advantage now in the 4th round to the Copenhagen Wolves. So that's a very big change of pace here, but we do see Existence just keeping eyes on now. He's got to be careful. Flashes are coming in, and he's going to be surrounded pretty darn soon by those 2 players. Existence knows they're coming because surely MBK's calling it there. He has been tagged up. So Existence going back in. Nice first shot. Oh, sensational second. Couldn't get the 3rd, sadly, but MBK is there to manage the rest of those T players. Now Fetish in a 1v3. I just don't see him getting out of this one. Only 10 seconds pretty much on that board. That clock is desperately against him. If he can even stay alive, it'd be a miracle. And there we have it. Scream will find the last, but that was a lovely little bit of the auto sniper in action then.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Copenhagen Games, once again, doing great decisions, getting that first entry frag, and then just getting out-aimed in the 4v4 situation there at the A bomb site. So, as I said again, they just have to get the kills right now.
Yeah, and I do feel for them. And as you say, they're playing it right. You know what? Every single move they're making is fine. It just comes down to that 1v1. It's not paying off, but Shoxy gets a little bit aggressive there. Does manage shot onto Fetish, now in a little bit of trouble having to back up through those double doors. And the Copenhagen Wolves are looking hungry, but Smith's merely feeding them a bullet right now. As, oh, look at the presence from VeryGames by these double doors. They know exactly what the Copenhagen Wolves were up to, and Shoxy making just light work of them, leaving only Dupree alive. And this is just not looking good for them right now. Dupree left in a 1v4 with only 4 HP. And there we have it. A grenade to put him down. And was that a little bit brave then from Shoxy to go straight through those double doors to challenge straight away?
Yeah, I feel so, especially considering that Copenhagen Wolves had an eco. So I mean, it worked out this time, but the safer choice would always be to just play more defensively.
Yeah. Do you think that could actually play against VeryGames at some point if they do start underestimating the Copenhagen Wolves side? If they maybe take it a little bit too lightly and those, early aggressive peaks actually don't start paying off?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's usually what happens. You play too aggressively, you lose a couple of rounds, and then you're forced to an eco, and suddenly you have lost like 7 rounds in a row.
Yeah, indeed. And once again, dupreeh trying to lay down the fire. He has got a nice connection onto Smiths there, actually, with the orb in mid. So not a bad start all in all for them. Not dropping anyone just as of yet. But it's still very much early days. And as you say, Copenhagen Wolves are playing it correctly at the start. It's merely the execution towards the 1v1s that do start hindering them. So towards short we go again. dupreeh still leading the way.
It's very important that Existence hit this shot, and he's completely blind. I actually think he's going to go down.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, we said it, but he got one there. Couldn't manage a second. Device finds him. MBK now has to push up a touch and keep eyes on the A-bomb side. dupreeh there, finally landing the shots. As you said, those 1v1s, those little battles between them have to come out in the Copenhagen Wolves' favour if they want a way into this. Bomb down and ticking. Shoxy, though, very close. It's a couple of shots off. No real connection there. And it's Shoxy getting fined by Soren. Scrape, nice shot onto Device now. 2v3 in favour to the Copenhagen Wolves side. Clock on their side too. Smiths must land the shot to even this up. And now Scream to push forward to get the shot for him. It's dupreeh down now, as now it's a 2v2, but look at Smiths, only 5 HP, 1v2, the clock is ticking and it's over. It's Fetish to get that one in the bag there. 5-1 is the scoreline. Finally, they won those 1v1 battles on A.
Yeah, exactly, and as we see, they won this round, and they didn't make any stupid mistakes in the after plant as well. They had a 3v2 situation, and they didn't play aggressive, just waited for the CTs to come to them, and it's not harder than that if you manage to hit the shots.
Yeah, and I've got to ask you, what the hell is Shoxy doing right now? He's pushing straight up mid with an orb, allowing Device to get the shot onto Smiths. He's completely missed a player there who's caught a glimpse. Oh, he does somehow get a shot on Soren, and again onto Device. Incredible play coming out from Shoxy. It's gutsy, and it's finally been put down, and Fetish makes the most of it. But what the hell has just happened? Leaving VeryGames in a 3v2 at a disadvantage. Sexy CS is all good and well, but you're leaving your team in a bit of a pickle, to say the least. Now, Existence sitting in on that A-bomb site. As the T's are now flooding towards him. He gets one, it's not enough. dupreeh quickly avenges. 1v2, Scream with a lot of work to do. Fetish and dupreeh to find, and probably a bomb to defuse very quickly. So, bomb down and ticking. Flash is coming in, Scream's got the first onto Fetish. 1v1 now. He's got to find dupreeh. And they just going in towards the site, trying to clear out any possible places. Closer and closer he gets. He's going to put some fire down, but it's dupreeh to get the shot off. And just please do tell me what the hell happened at the start there. Why would someone run up mid with an AWP and do that? It kind of, I don't know if you can even say it paid off. It looked good, but he basically allowed the opposition to get back into this now.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you know the terrorists have no AWP, that is actually quite a good move to do, because if the terrorist has no AWP, they are going to be scared of that angle, which means that there's nobody that's going to peek there, which means he can just run up the middle without anybody seeing him. And it worked out. He got 2 frags, and if he wouldn't have missed that last shot, he would actually have gotten 3 and got away with it.
That would have been absolutely incredible, but MBK getting aggressive on long. It's Soren to find him first, following up with a nice second onto Shoxy. So dismantling the VeryGames side as we speak. Existence there as well. That's a big presence coming out from VeryGames towards A. Scream still trying to lock down mid as best he can. Smith pushing into the B tunnels, finding Fetish. 3v4, still in favour to the T side right now, as dupreeh has made his way all the way around to that B bomb site and really catching Smith with his pants down then. How the hell was he allowed to get through mid? I will never know, but Existence has found Soren on the push round from A. This is a completely backwards round in my mind. And now Scream and Existence up against dupreeh, SMF and Device. So 2v3. Bomb going down towards the B bomb site. Existence making his way.
And they go to stay weapon, I think.
They have to, yeah. I was wondering why Existence was so close then. It surely shouldn't have happened then. But what just went down? Because watching dupreeh go through their spawn pretty much to be able to get that down, how the hell did they get away with that?
I think Smith somehow managed to... he went in lower in the beginning of the round.
Right.
And then they just passed by him and went out middle. And somehow he didn't know that, because when he went inside to B, he was completely shocked that there was a terrorist up in the whole area. And, I still felt like Smith would have had to take kill at least one and damage another for VeryGames to have a chance that round. And he just died instantly, so great decision to save the guns though.
Yeah, indeed. Trying to minimize the damage, obviously being caused by the Copenhagen Wolves. 5-3 is the overall scoreline, still in favor of the CT side of VeryGames. But there's been a couple of rounds that really haven't been swinging their way at the moment. And let's see if the Copenhagen Wolves can somehow keep this going. Pushing now towards A. It's Shocks to get the first onto Soren, follow up with the second onto SMF. And now the remains of the Copenhagen Wolves are down towards long. I believe there's one in mid. And the VeryGames' presence in A, once again massive. They're really happily stacking up that short area and getting aggressive through mid. So now Dupree feels as though he's surrounded. He might be right feeling so as well.
I actually think Copenhagen Wolves, they're not going to try to win this round, maybe just trying to get at least 2 or 3 more kills, just to keep the VeryGames economy down. I mean, if they get 2 early picks, they might go for it, but I think it's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah, I think VeryGames might be getting the notion of that as well, so just playing carefully. See MBK just retracting a touch as now we see the Copenhagen Wolves going towards that A-bomb actually. This device with the AWP, they're trying to keep eyes on its existence, stopping Dupree in his tracks. The bombing will not be going down. Not unless Fetish and Device somehow dig deep here. Great shot onto existence though. All fire coming in from that long section. Fetish alleviating the pressure from mid. They're working them down here. VeryGames are being rather aggressive and allowing Copenhagen Wolves a chance into this. 25 seconds on the